important events that allowed you to be where you are today. There were some important events that allowed me to be where I am today. There were some important events that happened that allowed the people out in this audience to be where they are today. Somebody had to stand. Some people had to unite. And some people had to have the courage to lead. In 1968, students in New York and Paris and all around the world, they protested against the Vietnam War. So people gave their lives so we can have the opportunities to do what we can today. Even in 1968, the Apollo was the first manned spacecraft to orbit the moon. One of the most significant things that happened in 1968 was the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. However, what I'm going to talk about today is an event that happened in 1968 where some individuals chose to stand. In 1968, in the Summer Olympics in Mexico, Tommie Smith and John Carlos won the gold and the bronze in the 200-meter dash. These guys were in the Olympics, the best of the best. During the ceremony, they wore black socks and took off their shoes and carried them to protest poverty. John Carlos wore beads to protest lynching. Tommie Smith wore a scarf to cover the USA over his track uniform. John Carlos unzipped his jacket to show the black t-shirt that he had on to signify which he represented the working class of his hometown in New York. They took a stand. Sometimes even taking a knee is taking a stand. We've witnessed Colin Kaepernick take a knee to take a stand against something that he truly believed in. When those guys did that, they united. They united Peter Norman, an Australian who won second place, who also supported the movement. He chose to be a part of something that was bigger than him. So a lot of times we think that racism comes in one shape, form, or fashion. We think everybody is a part of the problem. But there are a lot of people that don't see color, they see heart. They see character. And those are the people that we don't hear about. Those are the people that get ignored. Tommie Smith's wife, before the ceremony, brought them a pair of black gloves. She was a part of the mission. She supported her husband in what he wanted to do on the biggest platform in the United States of America. They only had one pair of gloves, so they chose to share the gloves. Tommie Smith took one, John Carlos took the other one. The Australian guy, Mr. Peter Norman, he chose to wear a button because that's all he had. But again, he was a part of the movement. The famous gesture during the Olympic ceremony was when they both raised their fists wearing a black glove. Lead. See, a lot of times we lead and we think it comes with rewards. But leading also comes with consequences. And sometimes the consequences are usually bigger than the reward. As they were leading, the punishment consisted of them being suspended by the Olympic Committee. They were forced to leave Mexico within 48 hours and return back to the United States. They received death threats. They were treated like traitors. Their athletic careers were over. They had trouble finding jobs. And trouble finding jobs means your family suffered. Peter Norman was treated like a traitor. Now keep in mind, John Carlos and Tommie Smith, they were two individuals that could deal with this from one country. Peter Norman was one man who had to deal with this from an entire country by himself. One thing about a leader has a vision that sustains them through difficult times. See, one thing about you guys now, you're embarking on becoming leaders. You've already led in one shape, form, and fashion. Now you're about to take another step in leading. But one thing I want you guys to do before you start leading, I want you to become mad. You get real mad. And I want you to get mad enough to make a difference. A lot of times we don't know why people do what they did. But when I heard the reason why John Carlos and Tommie Smith and Peter Norman did what they did on that special day in 1968, it motivated me to keep doing what I'm doing. All they wanted to do was have a chance at being equal human beings. Just be treated fairly. Give us the same rights and the same equalities that everybody else gets. As I reflected on that, I thought about this. I said, many say the dream is good, but however, the reality is the total opposite. See, chasing dreams is good, but the reality is you may not always get there. But see, if you never try, you'll never know if you're going to fail or succeed. Leaders endure in spite of circumstances. That just simply means leaders have a vision that sustains them through difficult times. See, leaders don't have to be asked to do stuff. They just do it because that's what they do. Leaders do what's right, even if they're alone. That's the hardest thing to do in life, guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Leaders maintain resolve without regard for consequences. Again, Tommie Smith and John Carlos maintained their purpose, knowing that it was going to be some severe consequences. Think about this. These men lost their athletic careers by standing, couldn't get jobs, and they never budged. Mm-hmm. Leaders aren't afraid to call out phonies. Can't be afraid to tell somebody this how it is. If they're not doing right by you, they need to get away from you. So you control what happens to you. You control the people that come into your environment. And see, sometimes people are going to come into your environment for reasons that you may not understand. But you got to stay strong on who you are and who you're trying to be. And if you do that, you're going to weed those people out anyway. See, I can't stand next to a complainer because I'm a solution provider. So you have to find your work. That's something nobody can take from you. Don't just get a job to get by. That's not living life. But you do what you gotta do so you can do what you wanna do. God gives you all you need to go get all you want. He gives you all you need to go get all you want. But the key is you have to find it within inside you.